Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Future TV. I'm Linda Tamim and these are today's top stories. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov voices his country's support for the Lebanese army and security forces following talks with Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil in Moscow. Mayor Night Patriarch Shararai calls on lawmakers to attend the parliament session and elect a president chosen by all parties. And 3 Americans are killed as a police guard opens fire at a hospital in Afghanistan's capital of Kabul. Foreign Affairs Minister Gibran Bassil is on a 2-day state visit in the Russian capital of Moscow, where he has discussed Lebanese-Russian ties and Russia's role in the region with officials. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov voiced his country's support for the Lebanese army and security forces.
The deep relations that Lebanon and Russia share together allowed us to have a fruitful and frank discussion on several topics. From our side, we emphasized on the importance of having a strong Lebanon for the region and for its stability. And the strength in Lebanon is needed politically, in terms of stability, political stability, and it is needed economically in terms of prosperity. And Russia can have an important role in strengthening our stability, which is a key matter for Lebanon and the region. A strong Lebanon is needed in its presidency, in its government, in its parliament, in its army, and all the institutions of the Lebanese state. This can only yield to stability in Lebanon and the region and to the peace, the so long-awaited peace. We talked about the dangers encountering Lebanon, and especially coming from the Syrian crisis, where we shared the view that only a political solution is possible in Syria. And Lebanon is keen to have this solution because we are paying the highest price of the Syrian crisis. First, on terrorism, where the globality of terrorism is facing all countries. No one country, no matter how far it is, will be protected from the global terrorism if not properly dealt with in Lebanon. And the Lebanese army is the official institution adopted by all Lebanese that can face terrorism, and this is where we asked for the backing of the Russian Federation for our Lebanese army in arms, logistics, training, and all possible means. A second danger spilling over Lebanon from Syria is the Syrian refugees crisis, where we had a full understanding from the Russian delegation on the Lebanese worries, and where this danger is existential for Lebanon. And new means of cooperation, new criteria and standards should be set for dealing with this issue. I hope that Russia will help Lebanon in a better international understanding of this issue, better cooperation with the Syrian authorities to have a reverse process in getting the Syrians back to their country in all conditions of dignity, security, and well-being. We also discussed the need for strengthening our economic relations. And this is also in the prospects of stability in the region, because with the oil and gas prospects in Lebanon, Russia can be a real partner. And this is also again and again related to stability in the region, because energy is a key factor for stability, not as being treated in some biased ways of politics. I believe energy is a right for every nation, for every human being, and it should be allowed to be produced and distributed in the proper means. Lebanon will do its best to have a transparent and efficient process for licensing our oil and gas activities, and Russia is very well welcome to be participating in the process through 4 main Russian companies. Also, the economic relations has a very good potential between Lebanon and Russia. We would like to open Lebanon and through Lebanon neighboring countries for Russian investments, and we would like to see the Russian market open for many Lebanese products. I think that with a better follow-up on the discussed issues, we can find the proper solutions, the good intentions for peace, for stability, through fighting terrorism is a need for Lebanon, for the region, and for the whole world. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you all.
Of a new president who should garner the support of all parties. Rai says he hopes there will be a quorum during the second round of elections next week and all coming sessions so that MPs meet and elect responsibly. The parliament failed to elect a new president on Wednesday after no candidates secured the 2/3 of the votes needed to win, and many lawmakers cast blank ballots and then left the parliament hall. The patriarch said it was necessary for him to meet with Speaker Nabih Berri before heading to Rome. A businessman who studied in the United States has become the second hopeful to register for Syria's controversial June presidential election, which is expected to return incumbent Bashar al-Assad to office. Hassan Abdullah al-Nouri is a member of the regime-tolerated opposition. The authorities have not spelled out how they plan to hold a credible election amid a raging civil war in which they have lost control of large swathes of country to rebel groups and militias. The Syrian opposition has slammed the planned vote as a farce, while the United Nations and the Arab League have warned it will deal a heavy blow to efforts to broker a negotiated peace. And coming up next, Turkish Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan offers unprecedented condolences to the grandchildren of Armenians killed in World War I. More after the break. Welcome back. 3 Americans have been killed when a security guard opened fire at a Kabul hospital funded by a U.S. Christian charity in the latest of a spate of attacks against foreign civilians in Afghanistan. Attacks on security forces, Afghan civilians and Westerners have been on the rise since the start of the year as Western forces prepare to leave the country and Afghans choose a new president. A U.S. embassy official confirmed the deaths but did not provide further details. Sources say the attacker, a policeman employed as a security guard at the Cure hospital, was captured. Ukraine's government says its troops have killed 5 terrorists in operations to take back the pro-Russian stronghold of Slovyansk, a day after declaring an Easter truce over. The Interior Ministry says the pro-Russian rebels were killed as paratroopers took over 3 illegal checkpoints around the town, which has been in separatist control for more than almost 2 weeks. Reports say that rebels had set fire to the barricades as they abandoned them and retreated from Ukrainian forces. Russia has condemned any such operations, with President Vladimir Putin saying there will be consequences if the Ukraine army is used against pro-Russian activists. The UN head of peacekeeping operations, Hervé Ladsouf, warns that unless warring parties in South Sudan engage in meaningful talks, the approaching rainy season in the country could bring a humanitarian catastrophe. The UN says hundreds of civilians were killed in a massacre last week in Bentiu, the capital of South Sudan's oil-producing unity state. UN officials say the country faces a severe risk of famine in the months ahead because April and May is when residents should be planting and cultivating. Latsu urged the South Sudanese government to take responsibility in protecting its civilians. Turkish Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan has offered what the government said was unprecedented condolences to the grandchildren of Armenians killed in World War I by Ottoman soldiers. On the occasion of the 99th anniversary of the deeply contested deaths, Erdogan unexpectedly described the events of 1915 as inhumane, using more conciliatory language than has often been the case for Turkish leaders. U.S. President Barack Obama says the United States will defend a group of islands disputed between Japan and China if needed, and threatens more sanctions on Russia. In comments made in Japan, Obama said the islands known as Senkaku in Japan and Diaoyu in China were historically administered by Tokyo and came under the terms of Joint Defense Alliance.
And let me reiterate that our treaty commitment to Japan's security is absolute, and Article 5 covers all territories under Japan's administration, including the Senkaku Islands. Large countries, small countries, all have to abide by what is considered just and fair, and that we are resolving disputes in peaceful fashion. And this is a message that I've delivered directly to the Chinese, and it's one that I think is entirely consistent with China being successful. I think the alternative is a situation in which large countries like the United States or China or Russia or other countries feel as if whenever they think it's expedient, they can take actions that disadvantage smaller countries, and that's not the kind of. What I'm saying is that we have prepared for the possibility of applying additional sanctions. That there are a whole bunch of technical issues behind that. That there's always the possibility that Russia tomorrow or the next day reverses course and takes a different approach. Do I think they're going to do that? So far, the evidence doesn't make me hopeful. And I think it's fair to say that, as we've said earlier this week, this is a matter of days and not weeks. Assuming that they do not follow through, we will follow through on what we said, which is there will be additional consequences on the Russians.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov voices his country's support for the Lebanese army and security forces following talks with Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil in Moscow. Maronite Patriarch Shadadai calls on lawmakers to attend the parliament session and elect a president chosen by all parties. And 3 Americans are killed as a police guard opened fires at a hospital in Afghanistan's capital of Kabul. Those are your Thursday headlines from us here at Future Television. I'm Linda Tanim, and I'll see you again tomorrow for more updates. Take care.